Hello and welcome along to another episode and another end of season review from this FM22 One Club story of Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. We're back today for part 44 of the Tudor Times and we're reflecting on a fifth season that looks pretty unconvincing and pretty average and pretty boring when you look at the league table at the end. But again, until 3 or 4 games to go, it was very much squeaky bum time, and we have not really progressed to the extent that we'd like to. So today, in our season review, we're going to delve into the reasons for that. We're going to look at what we're planning to do in the summer, because we need an overhaul and we need to get back to our roots. We tried something a little different last year, it didn't quite work out, and now we need to recover financially and set this club on the path I normally try to set them on. We're also going to have a quick look at the footballing world as we have reached the 5-year bookmark point. So if you're looking forward to all of that and you are enjoying the series, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on for daily FM22 content. We did have our New Year update a bit earlier on this morning if you want to catch up with that in the eye above. And the cricket episode that was due to be out will be out tomorrow morning instead. But a massive thank you for your support as always. Loads of links in the eye above. I wish you all a very happy new year and I hope 2022 means we can go to a bit more football than we did last year. But today we've got to reflect on Hemel Hempstead because despite the struggles in the league, despite the fact we still look unconvincing, it hasn't all been bad. Let's not forget, we've had a massive jump financially from reaching the 5th round of the FA Cup and having a big trip to Chelsea. We've also had a couple of real breakthrough players. Javan Malcolm turned into a wonderful signing. Scott Egan's really developed. And a couple of players have surprised us. And a couple of the solid additions have been alright. However, we are going to be saying goodbye to some more legends. We are going to be trying to get the facilities up. And we really need to reshape this squad. So we're going to have a look at that in a moment. But first, let's skip to tomorrow morning and see the official end of season review. Okay, so season review time for the 25-26 season is a very important one because we stay up again. And despite all of the negatives and the concerns, we're a Football League side and we've stayed that way. I did just want to have a look at a few of the signings because there's a couple that I wrote off or maybe undervalued at certain points. Kobe Rowe, despite having a really poor rating, has again been one of the best performing centre-halves at the club. Will Guerrero-Pollard, someone I was thinking, does it matter if we lose them in the summer? Well, apparently, he's a very good backup on the left wing-back position for us. So someone who might still be here as a squad player next year. Luke Garbett was absolutely brilliant, but he's physically declined to the end of the season. He's going to be gone now. Javan Malcolm scored 1 in 2, took a while to break in, but 20 goals in 42 appearances in the league, and he's scoring 1 in 2 in terms of starts. You cannot ask for more than that. He's developing really quickly, and he's someone worth a fair amount of money already, so fair play to him too. Tristan Nydam really solid. Fedor Roslang was brilliant until he got his injury. That'll ruin him now. Marshall was okay, but for the money we spent, we would expect him to be a little better. Ryan Boot was a big disappointment. I've got to say I'm not happy with how he played. And a few of the other loan players contributed, but we're getting down to disaster zone now. The worst signing was the big money one. 6 figures for Jordan Stevens. What a flop he was. Luke Armstrong, second highest paid player at the club after Stevens. Second worst signing, absolutely awful. And Will Nightingale, highest paid defender at the club, worst rated defender at the club. That's why we don't invest in big wages or experienced players. 26, 29 and 30, and it just didn't work out. Oliver Turner, still not got a club a year after leaving us. He talked about getting a better career for himself. Will he come back now? No, he's only recently left the club. We'll wait till the season ticks over, but it'd be sad if he left us because he wanted a bigger move and then just retired after a year. But that's where we are at the moment. We've got a few players to come back from loan. I don't think any of them are going to be real first team contributors. So let's just skip ahead and look at the season results. We finished 17th. We made progress. We finished 2 points above where we did last year and 4 places higher. We will take a look at the relegated clubs, but they look like pretty poor teams. I wouldn't expect them to have star talent. If we look at the moments to remember, an FA Cup tie against Spennymoor was our biggest win. We've not really battered any teams this year. Sedende scored a great hat-trick against Gillingham in the EFL Trophy, and goal of the season came there as well, Lewis Brunt scoring against MK Dons. The big plus this season though is finances. The broadcast revenue slightly down, but I think a bit of that comes at the end of the season. Sponsorship has doubled, corporates up 30 grand, prize money from the FA Cup basically trebled, more than trebled from last year. Matchday revenue up 20 grand. We're gradually becoming a Football League club. Malcolm, Egan, Nydam, all players we want to keep. Their shirt sales high. So then they probably will be going. Ross Lang, unfortunately injuries kiboshed him. The best 11 for the season. Luke Armstrong's in on the right wing, which shows you how bad Jordan Stevens is. We've got to sort that position out or change shape. I'm still thinking about a back three next year, but we might have to adapt our fullbacks to work around that. Brian Wall had a good season, Egan had a good season, Nydam was solid and Malcolm was solid. They're the four I'm looking to build around next year. Whether they're in the same shape, I don't know. They're all players that could fit into a sort of back three. They're all players that could fit into a 4-2-3-1. So it might well be a different shape just yet. But in terms of accolades, Fans Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and Most Player of the Match awards go to Brian Wall. Groel Pollard Signing of the Year, Lewis Brunt got Top Goal of the Season, and the younger ones were the ones generally who took the awards. None of those experienced players have really delivered, bar Luke Garbett, it's got to be said. Gareth McDonough had awful discipline, he's not going to be coming back again next year. I didn't realise that. Victor Sedende broke the league goal record by a player, 93 league goals for Hemel Hempstead, and Jordan Stevens, record transfer. The less said about that, the better. Let's finish off then. That is the season. Luton have sacked their manager. If this was a journeyman, I'd be going straight for it. Good team overall 11. Lewis Brunt goes in. Ryan Boot's gone in as backup keeper. Jeez, that is a bad reflection on our history. Javan Malcolm, Ryan Joseph, they deserve to get in there. Let's get through to the club vision. We're expected to stay up next year. So no more of this just fight to avoid relegation. They see us as an established League 2 team, and that's what we're building towards in the next couple of years. So we're going to accept that. We have been given a new deal for 2 seasons, which is a massive compliment for next year. But we're going to lose a lot of those influential players, and that's where we have to be careful. We're going to discuss the plans for next season. We're going to say, I'm optimistic we can avoid relegation. The players are happy with that. We want them to enjoy their break, and we'll see them again in pre-season. Excellent stuff there. We've got the players on side. We've got a break now, and we'll have a look at that team report over the summer gap. But at the moment, there is only one place to be, and that is having a look at the squad, because there's some players out on loan you probably will have forgotten about by now. And also, you'll realise just how much of our squad overall is out of contract. So obviously the 4 loan players you would expect. McDonough I'm not keeping because he just doesn't stay fit, and he's not really quick enough for the defence I want to play. And I still haven't decided if I'm going back 3 or back 4 next year. But if you look at that in terms of fitness, he's played 29 games this season, which means 17 times we've had a pretty poor right back in. We can't afford that. We need defenders who are going to play 35, 40 games minimum. Luke Garbett on the other side, similar story, only 32 games for him, but you can see where he's declining. He's over the hill, he'll be on non-league next year. The only one of the outer contract players I really want to keep, to be honest, is David Gregory, but he's not happy because we didn't play him, and he's outshone Ryan Boot whenever he's played, so maybe one that's got away there. All of the loan players will leave. I would imagine most of the other backups will, and that leaves us with this half a squad down at the bottom here. Now, there are some players in this group that are never going to kick a ball for us again. There are some players that we'd like to build a team around. But we're going to have to be very careful this window. And you can already see the disparity on the wage front. The fact that Stevens is on 900 quid a week. Forget Malcolm, he's earned his new deal. But then Boot on 875, Armstrong 800. Weren't Nightingale even on 700. And then we've got all these brilliant players who are earning around 400-500 quid a week. It doesn't add up. We've got to get the budget under control and spend our money off the pitch. So in terms of the players we've got here, I'd only like to keep Boot as a backup keeper, and that's a lot of money. The second highest paid player at the club should not be a backup goalkeeper. We've got to keep Javan Malcolm. That is an absolute certainty. He will be our starting striker next year. Scott Egan, unless we get a massive money offer for him, which is possible, his value now up to 325. He could get a deal with a sell-on clause. But as it stands, he's someone I'd like to build around. We've got a couple of dilemmas, which are namely Jordan Stevens. What on earth do we do with him? Because he's declined hugely, his value's crept down. And are we able to get the money? Do we take the loss? I don't know. At this point, I feel we just need him off the books. Maybe we could loan him out and reinvigorate him, because he's still got 2 years on his deal. And maybe he just needs to be loved somewhere. Alternatively, if we play a formation with wide midfielders, a right winger and a left winger but further back, could he be a superstar? I just don't know. Tristan Nydam is someone we'd like to build around. He's a very good footballer, but again, only started half the games, doesn't have the natural fitness. Is he someone we can really rely on for that? Brandon Bryan Waugh is probably the only other player that is a set-in-stone starter for next year. They are the only three I can tell you definitely will be in the starting lineup come the start of next season. If the transfer window goes our way, that is. We've got people like Senga out on loan who isn't going to make it now. He's not reaching that potential. We've got some players here who I wouldn't mind being backups. Ross Marshall has been solid enough. He can be a backup centre-half, no worries. Sedende probably needs to go now, but if we have to, I'll take him as a backup. It doesn't really matter. Guerrero Pollard, we mentioned earlier. Happy for him to be a backup. Happy for Marshall to be a backup. Happy for Tristan Nydam to be in the squad. And Ryan Joseph, someone who's not rated very well, but has been brilliant whenever he's played. I'm happy for him to be part of the squad. I feel we need to put more of an emphasis on player performance rather than just attributes. It leaves me with a few players I'm really not sure about. Brunt, if we get offered money, we'll take it because he's not worth that much to us. But you can see the players I've left out here, bar Malcolm, are the highest earners. Jordan Stevens, Ryan Boot, Will Nightingale, Luke Armstrong. And they are the more experienced ones too. And then Teddy Davey is probably not a Football League player. And I think we have to accept that now. So there we go. We have got 7, 8, maybe 9 players in the squad that we're happy to keep next year. And that means if we have the summer we're hoping for, we're going to see 12 or 13 new arrivals. And possibly a few more than that as well. So it's going to be a very big summer, a very eventful one. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with the players I'm selecting. Am I being too harsh? I feel like I've underdone it in years gone by. And I feel like I've tried to find quick fixes rather than going to my strategy of let's sign 21-year-olds, let's develop them, let's improve them. And a crucial part of that is going to be improving off the pitch. The finances, thanks to that Chelsea FA Cup tie, are almost up to £2 million. We're going to keep well under the wage bill. We're not going to spend a transfer budget. We've already agreed for one young player to sign for us. He's going to be a backup centre-half and is a good one, 18 years of age, who can improve. But this is where it boils down to at the moment. Facilities. We have got below average training facilities, poor youth facilities. It means players can't improve. As much as I'd love the recruitment to be better and to get through brilliant youth intakes, that's not going to happen just yet. As much as I'd like to move back from Luton to Hemel Hempstead, there's no point getting a stadium at this stage. We're only paying 20 grand rent a year. It's a pretty good deal. And we're playing in a decent stadium, not a million miles away. So we'll leave it at that. We have to improve these facilities though. So let's go to the board. The big part of today's episode is, can we get improved training facilities and can we get improved youth facilities? Because that is where the nuts and bolts of this save are. We've got to be able to improve players once we get young ones to the club. So let's skip ahead, see what they say, and then have a look at the footballing world, because that is the biggest part of this summer. Well, sorry, quick stop off before I expected. We've got new initial budgets for next season. Transfer budget of £500,000, wage budget of 26.5 grand, which is about 10, 12 more than we're spending. I do not want that. I want that 500 grand put into the training facilities. Are you going to accept it? That's the question. We have got board responses to our request for training and new facilities. The fact they're here suggests they're not going to be good. Let's have a look at the first one. Rejected training facilities improvement. Why? Why would you want me to blow it on players instead of improving the infrastructure of the club? We want to boost our reputation and attract better players. We don't believe the club's in need of a boost. But it would be a big help in developing our existing team into a much more prominent force, absolutely. You make a good point. Improving might be a cost-effective method of boosting the team's performances. We'll look into it. We're going to do it. We've convinced them. That's the most important one. So now, 750 grand being spent. I'd imagine that will take them up to average, adequate, whatever it is. And they'll be done by the end of November. Perfect. That's a big step for the football club. What about youth facilities? Can we get them as well? Or will that be an ask too far? Let's make the suggestion. We believe the level of facilities are good enough to develop a good standard of player. Well, you leave the football side to me. I'll make the judgment on that. Development would become less of a lottery. We'd still rather our resources were focused on signing first team ready players. We therefore reject your request. So Greg Wilson, look, we've got one out of the way. The bank balance will go down to about £1 million again. But essentially the gate receipts from that Chelsea tie have paid for a training facility upgrade. And that's how important the FA Cup can be at this level. We've probably had our run for the decade now, but if we can get lucky again, I certainly won't complain. We're in a good shape. We've got players to sign. We've got a lot of work to do in the window. But let's finish off by having a look at the footballing world, because we're 5 years in, it's bookmark time. Let's have a look at the English, Scottish and European football pyramids. So we start with the Premier League, where Birmingham and Bournemouth have been relegated from the Premier League. It looks like Crystal Palace or Brighton will be coming down with them. The top 6, Leicester in there, but pretty much as expected. No real surprises at all. Tottenham are bottom half side. West Ham dropping back down the league. And Newcastle in 7th, so doing okay with their money. Looking at the top scorers, just seeing if Newcastle had any standout players. They've got Romero, central defender from Tottenham. He's a pretty good player, so maybe they have signed a few good ones. In terms of winners, Leicester did win the league 23-24. City, United and Liverpool won a piece apart from that. Looks almost certain to be City there with 2 games to go. Let's move down to the Championship. My club Luton Town relegated against my Twitch stream save team Derby County on goal difference on the final day. The playoff semi-finals are taking place now, but Sheffield United and Fulham going back up to the top tier. Peterborough and Charlton down, no massive shocks on that front. League One, Notts County in the League One playoffs. So 5 seasons in, this is the 5th year, and they're on course for a potential 3rd promotion. That's an incredible effort. Barnsley made 100 points, Middlesbrough come back up 2. Millwall stuck in League One, and at the bottom, Pompey back down to League 2, Doncaster, Bristol Rovers and Wigan, who are fairly successful at the start of the save. So a few sides dropping back surprisingly. Into League 2, some decent sides in the playoffs. We were obviously there this season. Sutton and Stockport, the 2 that have gone down. As long as we're outside that relegation zone, we're doing all right for now. I didn't realise Malcolm was the top scorer in the league. Makes him look even better than I suggested he was. Let's move on to non-league football. The National League, a very tight league. We've seen that firsthand by finishing 8th and 7th in the division in our 2 years there. Hartlepool have gone down from it to the National League North. Barrow and Swindon back up to the Football League. Into the North, what sides are down here? We have got York winning it. A few big teams in the playoffs. Darlington and Kettering dropping out entirely. And then into the South, the playoffs. Again, a couple of surprises. Cray up there as well. Bath have won the league at a canter. And then going down, Tonbridge maybe a slight surprise, but no major shocks at all. The FA Cup has been won by United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Liverpool. It's Everton v Chelsea in the final this time. In terms of the League Cup, Norwich lost 9-1 to United in the final. What? 9-1 in a League Cup final. Fernandez got 2, Tete 2, Sancho. Who else has scored there? Griezmann, Sambo Anguissa. Jeez, they've got some good players, haven't they? But it wasn't a complete slaughterhouse. I'm surprised it was 9-1. Arsenal, Leicester. Leicester winning a lot of trophies this year. Arsenal, Leicester. Leicester winning a lot of trophies in this save. City and Arsenal again prior to that. The Community Shield, we're not too worried about, but all the big hitters. The EFL Trophy, first under-23 victory this year, and it was an all under-23s final. Before that, Forest Green, Rochdale, Derby, Ipswich. In the FA Trophy, finally, we've got us the first season, and then Gateshead, Ebbsfleet, Newport. Wealdstone of the National League South against Swindon of the National League in this year's final. Hopefully we can see a shock. That'd be interesting. Let's move on to Scotland just to have a quick look. Celtic are back as the dominant force. 5 titles in a row. So Rangers stopped 10 in a row, but it's now 14 out of 15. It's a pretty good effort from Celtic. Rangers not far behind. Hearts the 3rd side at the moment. I don't think any of that's too surprising. Let's move down to the Championship. We've got playoffs now, but Queen's Park were in there. They've dropped back down again. Rafe not replicating their success of the banger save in FM21. Ross County coming up and Dunfermline or Kilmarnock will join them. In League 1, we've got Partick v Falkirk for the place in the Championship. No other huge surprises at all. Arbroath struggling in League 1. Just shows how well they're doing in real life. Top of the Championship, they're absolutely flying. And then into League 2, what have we got at the bottom? Elgin in a playoff to go down. No massive surprises. Maybe Berwick back in there. East Kilbride, a few new sides coming up. But no huge shocks overall. I think that's the overriding emotion from looking at these. We'll have a quick look at the Scottish Cup, where Rangers have had a couple. Dundee won it in the first year. Obviously, we had a famous Scottish Cup moment with them in FM21. Let's have a quick look at the Welsh Premier League, just because it's one we know so well. TNS winning it every year as you'd expect. Connors Key and Bangor City on their tails, doing far better than they are in real life and having less off the pitch troubles by the looks of it. Onto Europe, let's have a look at the Champions League. We will move on to the international competitions as well. PSG v Liverpool this year. Liverpool won it 2 years ago. City the first season. Inter and Bayern the other champions so far. Looks like Haaland and Osimhen are at PSG, in addition to Donnarumma, Neymar and all the other stars you'd expect. That's a pretty formidable lineup. Let's have a look at the Europa League. Lazio v Chelsea this year's final. Arsenal have won it twice. They seem to be doing pretty well. Lazio the first season again and Sevilla in between. Europa League specialists are Sevilla. Let's move on to the Europa Conference. Tottenham, Southampton and Everton got a very English feel. Stuttgart won the other, and it's Genoa v Spurs again in the final this time around. And they were in the bottom half of the Premier League, weren't they? So if they win that, they'll get into Europe next year. That's the European club competitions out the way. Let's go and have a look at the European Championships. France, the holders of that, after Italy obviously won it 2021. Another big final victory, 5-1 against the Czech Republic. We can't go and see the full details of that. And then let's have a look at the World Cup, which should just be coming up this summer. France are the holders again, the dominant force of world football. And it all kicks off again, a month today, the 11th of June 2026. Wales in a group with Morocco and Venezuela. And England are with Honduras and Algeria. So going to be interesting to see what happens in that one. We'll of course find out in the next 5-year review. But firstly, a big summer to come with Hemel Hempstead. A transfer special will be here in 2 days' time, when we will have what I think will be a completely new look squad. I don't see more than 10 of these being here, but if they are, it's because we can't get them off the books. We had that problem with a few this year. We don't want it with the big earners that we've given too long a contract to. So if you are looking forward to seeing what happens this summer and still enjoying the series, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Let me know what you thought of the end of season review. I was going to do a little focus on the data hub and that, but it looks so similar to last year despite all the personnel changes that it just wasn't worth it in the end. If you want to stay up to date and make sure you don't miss the transfer special or any of the big action from the head coach, please do subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. Daily videos at 3:30 from FM22. The Cricket 22 finale will be tomorrow morning. Make sure you come and check that out. And the New Year's message is up in the eye above. Channel update and all that sort of stuff too. There's also links to Twitch and the podcast channel which you can find across various screens here. But a massive thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my summer plans or not. And I'll see you next time to see what we've done. Hopefully a new look side and one that's better prepared to have a push in League 2.